So this is Scatterbrains Podcast. I'm Erickson Mills,
I'm Nick Barnett.
and today we're talking about the first unit of our Honors 140 class. So to begin, we are going to discuss David Epstein and how modern life often rewards specialists, but he argues that generalists might be a better alternative. So, what do you think about that, Nick?
I think it's good to have like the soft skills, like how we talked about in class, and to be good at a little bit of everything. But for me, my goal is to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to specialize more because it would relate to me more. But I do agree that it's good to have a little bit of everything and be able to do it all.
Yeah, I my dad is definitely more of like a generalist, and I think that has helped him somewhat in his life doing because he's a lawyer by trade, but he can do a lot of like woodworking and stuff, and so I think that a level of just knowing basic, plumbing and electrical, just so you can take care of your house and stuff. I think that's definitely something that is good to have. And then I guess you can lead us into our next topic.
All right. So for the social construct of knowledge, so if all knowledge is socially constructed, does truth exist apart from culture, or is it always relative?
I would say that truth is definitely is definitely relative. Um, because especially we were talking about religion sometimes, and people can believe in visions and they could see or say that they've seen Jesus or maybe Allah or something. And I think there's definitely an argument that they all might be saying the same thing and seeing the same thing, but their truth is just different from their culture and how they perceive what they say. And as to the second bullet point of can humans escape the limits of their own perspectives, and I would say that a lot of the time, especially as you grow older and the culture of when you grew up and the culture of where you are now changes, I would say that when you're younger, you're not necessarily bound by the biases, but now, like older people are definitely bound by those sorts of biases, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would just add that like when it comes to truth, there are things that are absolute truths, like
Yeah,
the sky is blue and all that.
right.
But I think it was really cool to see how like the society you're in really does shape what you know. Like the example we had in class was like the one society didn't have a color that distinguished between blue and green.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool to see and to think about it like that.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that that was a very good allegory there.
So for the allegory of the cave, a good segue into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think the shadows on the wall, if they were comforting, do you think it would still be reasonable to leave? Or do you think it'd be worth it to leave the comfort?
I would say that a lot of leaders are built on the principle of leaving comfort and to pursue something better. Because just because the shadows of the cave were comforting does not necessarily mean that going into the light would not bring more comfort. And I feel like, being willing to take that risk and to venture outside of the cave walls. And this is just like, as many applications in life, obviously, where we don't live in caves anymore, but perhaps, going out of the country or pursuing a hobby or taking that job that you're not sure of. I feel like that definitely distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And I feel like that if you, to truly be successful in life, that you have to, at some point, leave the cave.
Yeah, and like what you were just saying about being a leader,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should lead people out of the cave, like lead them out of ignorance, because that's something a leader would do.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they may resist, at the end of the day, it's what would be better and it's what would be best. So yeah. And then with AI and all that, do you think we're living in the cave or do you think we're outside of it? What's your thoughts on that?
So I would definitely say that in terms of the average person is definitely living, or I would say that in the older generations, right? and some teachers, obviously, I think they're living inside the cave of the mindset that all AI is bad and that you cannot, like, obviously can't use it for school or anything. But I think in some scenarios, it's definitely there are applications where using AI is beneficial. And I feel like as time progresses and AI develops, more and more people will be moving out of that cave into the ability and the knowledge to understand how to utilize AI for their own benefit. And I feel like those people who initially take that step and get out of the cave on AI and start utilizing it and into different ways to make money and other things, I feel like those are the people who are like, it's the next .com bubble, the internet. I feel like it's the next renaissance of that type of nature.
Yeah, yeah. And then for Paulo Freire's pedagogy of the oppressed, um, do you think there can ever be like a truly free classroom, or do you think it's always going to be like the same system that we've always had?
Well, I would feel like that for now, at some to some level, definitely there has to be some sort of control in the classroom because an 8-year-old is not going to be able to properly learn without some degree of structure. But I feel like that some of Paulo Freire's, thoughts in that terms of, you know, adding more collaboration and having the teachers learn from the students is definitely something that could be applied to the higher grade levels. What do you think?
So like getting to college, having classes with 250 people, I think that kind of thing just couldn't work in classes like that. But I mean, then again, I have those classes, and I also have the class Honors 140 that weren't together,
Mm-hmm.
where that whole class is dialogue based. So I think in certain classes where you can have a small enough class size, it could definitely work, and it's definitely a more free classroom because you can express your thoughts, and like we're learning just as much from the teacher as she's learning from us, and so that has probably been one of the coolest parts of college and getting to see that. And then like the next question says, it's all dialogue based, but in a general class, I don't really think that could work.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like when there's certain types of classes you can have. Some more broadening your intellectual horizons, and other broadening your emotional horizons and your intelligence in terms of being able to collaborate and communicate with others. Communication classes, and I think classes based in that sort of subset are definitely where the teacher and student dynamic can be broken down more into a collaborative effort. But chemistry, math,
Yeah,
there's not going to be a student who's going to teach a teacher new ways for calculus necessarily. I mean, there could be, but
because all that stuff's kind of like it's set in stone. There's
right,
a way to do it.
yeah,
So yeah.
uh-huh. So I think that kind of wraps us up. Nick, do you have any other thoughts?
Um, Maybe we could talk about our last class discussion with like the AI,
Mm-hmm.
and like I thought that was probably the most fun class we've had when we were getting into like having relationships with AI. So maybe
Yeah.
about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Um, yeah.
So
So what's your thoughts on like having a relationship with an AI?
So obviously, there was one girl who actually said that she would be happy if her daughter had a relationship with like an AI because she said that it would give her experience. But I feel like that it is a terrible idea to give any child the notion that having a perfect relationship is something to hold everyone to that standard. Like having your first relationship be a perfect robot, I feel like is definitely very detrimental to your ability to have emotional intelligence because you can't ever, they're always going to be yes men, they're always going to please you, and you're never going to have to necessarily
Yeah,
think of
like
their own feelings.
sets those false expectations, and you wouldn't know how to deal with conflict management and how to work
Hmm.
through issues and express your feelings whenever there's something you don't like. So yeah, and then that's really all I have.
Yeah, and just to like finish that little thought, like something I was thinking is, I think for now at least, the best way to treat AI is you would never um, do anything with it that you wouldn't ask a teacher or a colleague or a friend. Not anything at a deep personal or emotional level. For now, or for basically forever, because and ultimately any emotion requires the human connection, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that a machine will never be able to replicate.
Yeah, because even though like it's all electric signals,
Hmm.
um, our minds just it's way more complex than any computer. A computer can't process things the way we process things, and and like come to decisions the same way we do. So
Right.
yeah, you should never look for advice from an AI like for dating or for counseling. Always go to those people in your life that you can trust or
Right.
find somebody
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Because we saw in class that one time the AI told some dude to kill himself,
Yeah.
or like an 11-year-old. Like that's just, that's why I don't think they can be trusted.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. I think that about wraps us up.
Yeah, I think that wraps us up. That's the first episode of Scatterbrain Podcast on the first unit of Honors 140, and I'm Erickson Mills.
I'm Nick Barnett.
And now we're signing off.